Well, I didn't know. Gail's got a box around her. I wasn't sure if she was going to say something. Hi, Cindy. Welcome. Nice to see you. Kim, is there anybody I didn't say hi to? Belinda, nice to see you. All right, so let's jump right into this, shall we? All right. Let's see here. Okay, so that's me. I'm Jen Short. I'm the founder of Green Adventures Tours, and yeah, I was a kid who wanted to be a marine biologist when I was growing up, and slowly turned that dream into being a business owner. And I now own a company that basically helps people connect with wild animals and wild places, and hopefully they'll want to protect those places after visiting a location. But one of the things that I really strive to do is make a place accessible. I mean, certainly there are some physical limits, but what I want people to be able to do is have up-close encounters with animals if they can, and where there's a will, there's a way. So a lot of times we use, in most of my destinations, we use a form of eco-adventure, and it is a way to access that place. So we'll go snorkeling to learn how to snorkel with sea lions and whale sharks. We'll go trekking to go see gorillas. Here's a kind of a list of destinations that Green Adventures has over the years, since 2009, created for people to experience really cool animal encounters. And my trips have evolved over time to less animal encounters and into other diverse activities like river rafting or hiking. And you can see with the international programs, we had Baja, Mexico, Costa Rica, Galapagos, Iceland, Trinidad and Tobago, Tanzania, Uganda, and Roatan, Honduras. In addition, also Alaska and Florida were some of my pre-COVID trips. But now I have some what I call COVID-inspired destinations. And so that's what kind of brought us here today in terms of that. But like I said, the focus on many of my trips was because I was a kid who wanted to be a marine biologist. I think what I wanted to do was just travel and see cool animals. And so I've just been spending the last, 20 years of my life doing that. And through Green Adventures, I take women's groups and student groups on trips. And we go to Uganda to see gorillas and Tanzania to see the Serengeti. There's Lori, she's on this presentation, and she's literally in the presentation. Baja, Mexico, and the Sea of Cortez, we interact with gray whales. Florida, we snorkel with manatees. The Galapagos, we see that we get close to the giant tortoises. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we see giant like living dinosaurs, 700 pounds, 7 feet long, leatherback sea turtles. So yeah, I've been enjoying traveling to go see these animals, but COVID put a kind of grounded those activities this year. And so in the spring I was thinking, okay, where can we go that we could drive to that could be like a way to celebrate iconic places and animals of the lower 48. And so I called it my Sea to Shining Sea COVID-inspired trips. And I know that, things have been changing a lot, even since March. There's travel restrictions, new information that's coming up. So it was about, how can we still do these trips and maintain safety? And so one of the trips, the very first one to run was this Maine Salmon River, Idaho trip that we just completed in August. And there were 8 women plus myself. Lori also is in there. You see her in the bottom left-hand corner. Cindy is in here too. Cindy is also on this chat. And, everybody knew we signed up during a pandemic. And we did our very best to stay as safe as possible. People had the option of getting tested before they arrived. They social distanced and didn't go to any big gatherings. And when we were in buses or inside the hotels, we had our masks on. But outside, fresh air, we did not wear our masks during outdoor activities. Most of the time, though, we were on, you can go kayaking, you can be a solo kayaker and do some whitewater rafting with kayaks. Actually, there's another picture too. Sorry, of just our rafts. There's 3 people to a raft, basically. But along the way, we saw pictographs. We saw some bighorn sheep. We met with homesteaders who are taking care of property that's been homestead, like it was one of the original homesteads. Yeah, we camped on beaches every night, and we had a really, really great time. What we said was, the theme of that trip was, it's the trip nobody expected, but everybody needed. Because most of the people on that trip were signed up for other trips that were canceled internationally. And then there are people who even signed up kind of just by like, oh, well, I'll do this within a month. So we're finding that a lot of these domestic trips are kind of selling last minute, which is totally understandable. We're doing an up north fall trip in Wisconsin in a couple of weeks, and that trip is sold out. And then, of course, that brings me to the Winter Wolves and Wildlife Safari trip that we're here to talk about today. And again, this trip was brought up because, I mean, wolves are just, they are an iconic animal, iconic predator of our Serengeti, you know, the Great Plains. And after going to Tanzania and seeing the Serengeti there in balance, I couldn't help but think about our own Great Plains ecosystems. And I knew that I wanted to start doing educational programs that brought people to learn about, not just to, you know, see the animals and take pictures of them, but to actually see, to learn about the ecology and the importance of the work that's being done at these locations. So ideally, actually that's where Taylor needs to come in. So let me go back here and go. I need to stop my screen sharing. Okay, so that's what brought me to Taylor's company, Jackson Hole Ecotour Adventures. I talked to Nancy, and she's like, you should do Yellowstone in the winter, and I thought that's a great idea. And I started reaching out to people within my network. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, so we've got a lot of outdoorsy people in a lot of beautiful places who know local outfitters. And one of my classmates put me in touch with Taylor. And I had a phone call with him, and then I just recently drove through Yellowstone on an epic 5,200-mile road trip. And we talked and worked out some details, and now he's here to talk to you about the trip specifically. So, Taylor, do you want to take over?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Tara. And excited to be here with everyone today. And gosh, I hope to have the opportunity to meet many of y'all. Smiling faces, and gosh, Tara, and your team here, you've been all over the world. I'm jealous. But yeah, thanks for joining us. My name is Taylor Phillips. So I'm originally from the East Coast. I moved out to Jackson after getting degrees in environmental studies, environmental philosophy, and moved to this part of the country because I knew through my studies and travels that this is where I needed to be. This ecosystem, the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, it's one of the last untouched ecosystems in the planet, and certainly within the continental United States. It's been captivating to me ever since I stepped foot on these grounds. To give you a sense of this place, some of you have been here, it sounds like. Teton County, Wyoming, I'm in Jackson. 97% of this place is protected. National park, national forest, elk refuge. So it's just remarkable that, migrations that have happened for, thousands of years are still happening today. This wildlife species that lived here pre-settlement are still here. There's dozens of trailheads for activities, out the doorstep here. It's been an incredible place to learn, to grow passionate around, to raise a family, and to run a business. I moved out here in 2002 and just immersed myself in everything natural world. So I've been studying the wildlife, the geology, the cultural history of this amazing place. And gosh, the more I study, the more I learn there is to know. So I started EcoTour Adventures in 2008, and yeah, for the first few years it was just myself, and over the years I've developed a team, and we have gosh, we have just an incredible staff, and we lead day tours, half day, full day, multi-day programs in this ecosystem. And recently, you know, breaching out, creating an office in southern Chile, specifically for puma viewing, which is just, it's a crazy experience in and of itself. But yeah, I know, excited to talk about winter wolves, winter in Yellowstone. I do have a slideshow here I wanted to show with you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Oh, cool. Okay, of course it wants me to sign back in. Hopefully this doesn't take long to pull it up. Perfect. Okay. Yes, Winter Wolves in Yellowstone. This is a program we've been running for the past few years, and just clients have been tickled pink after the experience. It's just an immersive experience to make the most of the time exploring the interior of Yellowstone, the northern range for wildlife, just incredible opportunities for photography during what I think some of the best times of the winter, or the year, are being the winter time. Yeah, so we'll tour in some of our customized vans. I think you guys should be able to see my cursor here. So at the roof of our vans are roof hatches installed above each row of seating, so folks can kind of pop out of the top of the vehicle to observe, take photos from inside, which is a lot of fun. So this is a group from last winter's trip, as we were seeing wolves kind of on this ridge line. It was kind of the first sighting that we had of the trip, and everyone was pretty darn excited. You know, some of these wolf sightings are, you know, we're using spotting scopes. You know, that's what we have here. We have, it looks like 2 scopes set up, and we're using binoculars. Other sightings are 30 yards from the vehicle. So it's like one of the beauties of what we do is, yes, like we know the best spots to look. We know where sightings have occurred most recently. Maybe it's that morning or the evening prior, but you just don't know when, you know, that elk or that moose or that bison or that wolf is going to walk in front of the vehicle. It's a lot of fun in that sense. Yeah, so this is kind of gives you an idea of the larger ecosystem. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, so everything in the green is referred to as the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Kind of this purple box here is Yellowstone National Park. Kind of the smaller purple zone to the south is Grand Teton, and kind of everything in the green is the ecosystem. So the size of West Virginia, about 18 million acres in size, where for scale, Yellowstone here is about just over 2 million acres, the size of Delaware and Rhode Island combined, just Yellowstone Park. So it's pretty incredible. Let's see here. Okay, great. So large carnivores. Yellowstone's the place to see wolves. Grizzly bears, on occasion we find them in the wintertime, but of course they're typically hibernating. You know, a value in kind of working with us is we're going to share a lot of information. Like, we find that travelers these days have a thirst for knowledge. So we want to share insights on animal ecology, the geology of the region, kind of the cultural context of the people that lived in the area, you know, before, you know, the current developments. And like, we find when we give those insights, it makes for a more meaningful experience. So instead of just, you know, driving down the road and seeing, you know, howling wolves, you have a better understanding and appreciation, really, because with our interpretation, you understand, okay, the the killing of the wolves back in the early 1900s, and how they were reintroduced. And, we're going to share with you pack structures. And, as we're driving these roads, it's like, okay, now we're entering into Junction Butte territory. We're leaving the 9 Mile wolf territory. And then you'll get a sense of the interactions between packs and family structures within packs. So it just makes that sighting that much more exciting, I think, and meaningful when you have kind of that background information. So it's just, here's a slide here on wolves. Wolves they were trapped, they were poisoned, they were killed to extinction in the continental United States. And it was 1995 and 96 that a total of 66 wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone National Park and Central Idaho. And this has been an incredible success story for the Endangered Species Act, where just over a decade after that reintroduction, numbers climbed, and then there were talks of removing them from the endangered species list. And now within Yellowstone, there are thriving wolf populations, and it's been really cool to see, from reading stories, reports, studies from before my time, but actually seeing it with my own 2 eyes since I've been in this ecosystem, how the presence of wolves have impacted other species and the natural world, the landscapes. They certainly are. They're an apex predator. And that apex predator has a top-down approach, and it's impacted everything from beavers to vegetation in certain areas to stream banks. It's remarkable to see that on the ground and to be able to share that with guests. I do think my office is a pretty cool one for that reason. So here again, here's a map of Yellowstone. And so Bozeman's right up here where you guys will fly into, and then we'll kind of drive into the northern entrance there at Mammoth. And then we're touring primarily kind of the northern section of Yellowstone, with the exception of the snow coach day that will tour more of the interior. But you'll see here the northern range. We've got 3 or 4 wolf packs that we'll be trying to see in this region. And then also the plethora of other wildlife: bison, elk, moose, different birds of prey species, trumpeter swans, coyote, fox. Gosh, it goes on and on. So here's some photos that we took on last winter's trip. And so this is 5 members of the Junction Butte pack. You can see this elk in the background, just not really paying attention, because these wolves, obviously, they're not focused on that elk, so that elk could care less. And then these wolves were howling for a bit this day as well, which you hear that, and it at least to me, it sends shivers down my spine. Here's another image of them. There's a bull elk we had in our sights that day as well. And over the years, the human perception of wolves has changed / is changing. Aldo Leopold, some of you might be familiar, just an incredible naturalist, incredible writer, and there was a time that he hunted wolves as a predator, and there's a moment that kind of really changed his perspective on wolves and in the natural world. We reached the old wolf in time to watch a fierce green fire dying in her eyes. I realized then, and have known ever since, that there was something new to me in those eyes, something known only to her and to the mountain. I was young then and full of trigger itch. I thought that because fewer wolves meant more deer, that no wolves would mean hunter's paradise. But after seeing the green fire die, I sensed that neither the wolf nor the mountain agreed with such a view. That captivated me when I studied that in high school and college, and it still does. And we certainly know that, you know, game species, you know, in this sense with Yellowstone elk are healthier with the presence of wolves. Oh, Josh, one of the co-leaders last year took this awesome shot, and you could almost see the kind of that green light in that individual's eyes. It looked close. It's wearing, it's got some jewelry. Yeah, so biologists have captured this wolf, likely by helicopter, tranquilized it, taken blood samples, T samples to age it, and then it fixed that collar on the wolf to track its movements, as all of the packs in the park are collared. Here's just some other winter imagery. Looks like that bull elk, probably a 3 or 4 year old, bedded down after it kind of browsed on that exposed vegetation. And yeah, this was taken last year on our snow coach day. In the background, you can kind of see the snow coaches on the end of the boardwalk there, and it just, the feel of walking these boardwalks in the winter, it's something special. As the steam just kind of settles over the Geyser Basin, a little bit of snowfall, it's pretty special. And this is the north entrance, the Roosevelt Arch there, for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. Yellowstone National Park, as of course the world's first national park. So yeah, so that photo there of the participants, that was last January, and you could see not a whole lot of snow in that image. Yellowstone's big. There's mountains in the park, so depending on where you are in Yellowstone, the weather and climate can be very different. Something to think about, and we'll talk about that a little later. The bobby sox trees there, as the silica from the thermal water kind of gets pulled up into the trunk structure, it leaves that white stain on the base of those trees. Bison, Yellowstone, yeah, is home to some of the only genetically pure bison in the country. It's pretty special. On average, there's 3,000 to 4,000 bison that call Yellowstone their home. That's a nice picture of a coyote that we took last year as well, that just as we were driving, it kind of trotted just right alongside the road, and then kind of went up on the snowbank as that sun was setting. So yeah, this is Lamar Valley. This is where we'll be spending quite a bit of our time in Yellowstone. So part of the northern range, a little bit of snow. This was a cold morning here, as you can see all the frost in the trees. And yeah, no, the wildlife, they love the northern range because of the shallower snowpack. It's easier for these animals to travel and find food. Yeah, so before I go into a little bit of the itinerary, are there any questions, or should I just go right into the itinerary and we'll...
Actually, Gail had a question she put in the chat. She wanted to know if the bison, I just saw that. Gail, you could even ask the question, are the bison managed? Is that what, I lost the chat somehow. Is that correct, Gail?
Yeah, at Custer State Park, they manage their bison herd to keep the grasses adequate for the herd size. Do they do the same in Yellowstone?
So the history of bison management in Yellowstone is an interesting one. So currently they're not managed inside the park. But however, as the population of bison have grown inside Yellowstone and winter comes, that winter season, snowfall, cold temperatures does push, a good percentage of the bison out of Yellowstone. So that is of concern when segments of the Yellowstone herd, they'll either head out of the west entrance to West Yellowstone, Montana, or they're heading out north through Gardner into the Paradise Valley. And when they do leave the park, they are managed. The Montana Department of Agriculture, they have the authority to manage the bison when they leave the park, and it's been very controversial for decades. I assume it will be, for decades to come. And there's a Park Service culling program where when these bison leave, if they test positive for certain bacterial disease, they're sent to slaughter. There's also bison that when they're in quarantine, if they don't show signs of brucellosis, then at certain years, not every years, but some years they are given to private ranches. I know Ted Turner has some Yellowstone bison, or they're given to native tribes or sent to slaughter. And then that food gets distributed to shelters. Yeah, what other questions do we have here? Diane, yep, I like that pun. That's a good one. Where there's a whale, there's a way. Yes. I assume that was written before we started talking about winter in Yellowstone. Well, great. Let me go into the itinerary a bit. Yeah, so this is a 6-day itinerary that we have packaged for everyone. Okay, what's going on? And yeah, so day one, flying into Bozeman, Montana, which is about an hour-and-a-half drive or so from Yellowstone. So to give the folks the option to kind of fly in whenever they want through the day, flying to Bozeman, the Element Hotel here that's pictured. They will meet you at the airport and bring you to their facility here. And then at that evening, we'll meet in the lobby and then head out for a welcome and group dinner. And then from there, we will make the drive to the northern portion of Yellowstone, to Mammoth. So this is the building on the right there. That is the Mammoth Hotel. And it's just it's a newly renovated, beautiful hotel, great amenities. And it's about a 5-minute drive from the Mammoth Terraces. And this is, likely on our first day here, when we, after we drive to Mammoth, we'll kind of leave our bags to the hotel and kind of explore the Mammoth Terraces. So it's so travertine terraces, calcium carbonate gets dissolved underground, and that hot water kind of comes to the surface, it cools, and those minerals precipitate out, just forming kind of incredible colors and structures on the landscape. So that's certainly a must see as we're just a few minutes away from the hotel. Yeah, so here's a map of the park. So Bozeman again is kind of right up here, and we'll come in the north entrance, Mammoth Hot Springs. That's where the terraces are. That's where our hotel is. And then let's see here. Day 3 is we're spending the full day exploring this northern portion. Likely all the way out to the northeast entrance and back. And this is going to be an incredible opportunity to just enjoy the beauty, the scenery, photo opportunities of the landscapes, wildlife as well. This northern range, and here's a picture of that northern range of Lamar Valley. Yeah, here's a group photo of folks on a wolf tour a couple of years ago. There's kind of wolves out in the distance there, and we're watching them kind of move across the landscape. And yeah, so our fourth day of the itinerary is one where we are taking snow coach travel into the interior of the park. This is one of my favorite days of the program. We're going to get up before it gets light. We're going to go to bed after it's dark. It's a long day, but we're taking this snow coach, and if the weather cooperates, back to the map here, if the weather cooperates, we're going to take this snow coach from Mammoth Hot Springs, all the way down here to Norris, to Madison, to Old Faithful. Of course, we have to see Old Faithful erupt. Oh gosh, just, hopefully we get that bluebird day and to see that steam. This is the upper geyser basin. It's pretty special for sure. And yeah, if the weather's cooperating, then we can kind of complete the lower loop. And this is just a fantastic drive kind of around the lake shore of Yellowstone Lake. And then up north here through Hayden Valley to Canyon Village, where we'll definitely have to take some time to see both the upper and the lower falls. So this is the lower falls, over 300 feet tall, quite a bit taller than Niagara Falls. It's awesome, and just see it encrusted in ice is pretty darn special. And as we are on our snow coach day, certainly opportunities for other wildlife, elk, wolves, fox. There's been a bobcat that occasionally is seen along the Madison River as well. And there'll be time to explore a couple of other kind of geothermal geyser basins.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
There's just a question on here. Could you make your screen big? I think Kim had asked if you could do your share screen in full size. There you go.
Oh, sure. Yep. Sorry about that. Yeah, so there'll be a few different geothermal geyser basins that we'll have the opportunity to see as well. The upper geyser basin for Old Faithful. There'll be an opportunity to check out the lower geyser basin, West Thumb geyser basin on the snow coach day. Yeah, Yellowstone, there's over 10,000 different thermal features, and we'll have the chance to see geysers, hot springs, fumaroles, and then your hot pools as well. Let's see here. And just some other kind of snow coach imagery so you can get an idea. Yeah, so these roads are they're not plowed in the wintertime. They are groomed. So just think of the snowcat groomer that you would see at a ski resort. So that's the type of groomer that they run over these roads at night. And then the snow coaches, most of them have kind of large wheels like this. Some of them still have tracks like a tank. But the coaches that we'll be on, will have these large wheels. What else do we have here? Yeah, so just looking at the itinerary. Yeah, so day one, we arrive in Bozeman. Day two, we're making our way into Yellowstone with time for exploration there in the Mammoth Hot Springs area and an evening wildlife drive. Day three is a full day exploring the Northern Range from sun up to sundown. For wildlife, for scenery, and of course, we're going to just fill everyone's brain with information about the region, the wildlife, the history, etc. Day four is that full day, that snow coach experience. And then day five, we'll have most of the day exploring the Northern Range again for wildlife, and some snowshoeing if there's interest as well, and we can talk about that in a second. And then that last day, we'll make that hour and a half or so transfer to Bozeman, where we'll have our kind of dinner to wrap things up, and then you guys can take off that next day. Tara, what did I miss?
Just wondering if you could touch on the photography basics. So what is that aspect? How is that going to be incorporated into the program?
Yeah, raise your hand if you like to take photos. Awesome. Raise your hand if you want to learn a bit more about how to take photos. Okay, I saw some nodding, some hand raising. That's good. Yeah, so myself and the guides that work this program, we're all photographers, and we love showing folks, one, like the incredible images to take and how to do it. So we might be like, okay, let's jump in the van and let's go, 100 yards up the road and we'll get out. So, that big snowy bison will walk right towards us, or, we'll kind of share with you techniques like that. We can share with you techniques of how to manipulate your camera to capture that shot. So, we can talk eloquently on, shutter speed, aperture settings, ISO, do you need a tripod? Do you not need a tripod? How to frame your image, things like that. Yeah. So that's certainly a fun part of my job, because I like to take photos there. So if I can be side by side to you while you take photos, hey, that's a win-win for everyone, right?
And so also with that too, people can bring, you can take amazing photos just with your cell phone. So you don't have to have an SLR. You don't have to have, a 35 millimeter camera or long lens. You can come with the very basic and still learn, obviously, photography basics.
No, exactly. And what's really special about iPhones these days is that we bring with us on tours attachments where we can attach iPhones and smartphones to our spotting scopes. So, you've probably been places around the world where you've seen photographers, with lenses like this that, cost $15,000. So we have the technology where we can attach your smartphone to a spotting scope that we have with us. And then you can capture that animal that's, 100 yards away, a couple hundred yards away, and get a decent shot with. So that's a lot of fun. And yes, hands down, we have some tips for you, like how to, how to eloquently use your smartphone to take home imagery and video, really, of the parks.
Kelly, I don't know when you just asked this question, but she said, is there a certain camera that is best? I don't know if that was before my question about cameras or after. Okay, so we covered it already? Okay, awesome. And then also in terms, do you want to just talk about the optics that you have available for people so they don't have to, certainly if you are going to, it's always good to invest in stuff if you think you're going to use it, like in many places. Like I bought my first birding binoculars. Granted, they're only like $300, but they're really great binoculars. And you'll find that people have $15,000 binoculars. But if you invest in a pair that you really like, that's and you think you're going to travel with them, then great. But you don't have to have the expensive binoculars or a spotting scope on this, right? Taylor, you want to talk about what you have?
No, not at all. Yeah. So to kind of cover optics and the kind of other items that are included in the experience. So every participant will be presented with a pair of Maven binoculars to use for the duration. And then vehicles will be equipped with multiple spotting scopes per vehicle. So no need to bring your own optics. I would say if you have a pair of binoculars that you really like, that you're comfortable using, by all means, yes, bring those on the trip and they'll suit you well. But no worries if you don't have a good pair of optics. We will certainly let you, use that pair for the duration. All our optics, they're Maven Optics. It's a Wyoming company, and they do a spectacular job. They're easy to use. They're crystal clear and just they're high quality. We pay over $500, and that's with our discount for each pair of binoculars, and the scopes are about $2,000 a piece. So we have quite a bit invested there.
Awesome. So just out of curiosity too, what type, and not brand, but what size binoculars do you think, or magnification do you think you would recommend for people if they wanted to invest in a pair of binoculars?
No, great idea. It's, there's so many different size binoculars out there, and it really is it really determines, what size you buy based on what you're going to use them for and your experience with binoculars. If you are an avid birder and you're very comfortable with binoculars and you use them quite a bit in the distance, I would get a 10 by, so 10 power. If you, want them for just kind of general purposes and maybe newer to optics, I would get 8 power. We've experimented with different powers of binoculars over the years with clients, and we find that folks that don't have a lot of experience with binoculars, when they hold a pair, 10 power magnification up, they're getting a shaky image. But an 8 power, most folks feel very comfortable with those, and that's what we provide. We provide an 8x42.
For me, that's actually the binoculars I travel a lot with. I mean, they seem to be good for things up close and things far, and like not too heavy for travel too. So that's worked for me as well.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add is
Nancy's a burden.
well, and I have really good binoculars, and but the only other thing I would add is if people do buy their own binoculars, is just to ask, because the light gathering ability is important, especially if you're going to be doing low light in the morning or in the evening. That has to do with the quality of the glass. So like Taylor was saying, the more you spend on binoculars, you're getting theoretically better glass, better mechanisms that make the binoculars work. So you should get the most expensive ones that you can afford. You don't have to mortgage your house, but get the most expensive you can afford, and they're going to work better for you in the long run. And I use my 8x32s in Africa, and they were perfect. And I have 10x42s, which are a little bit bigger and heavier, but the 8x32s are nicer to travel with.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Nancy.
So the other question too is, we got some people coming from Florida. How cold is it going to be, and what do they need?
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I get that question all the time with our winter participants, and that's always of concern. But isn't Yellowstone oftentimes one of the coldest places in the U.S.? Yeah, sometimes it is. We, in the parks, get the gamut. You need to be prepared for, obviously, for the worst, or for the coldest, I should say. So, in the mornings, definitely a good idea to have warm thermal underwear, underneath jeans or ski pants. Layers of clothing are important. And this is your opportunity to, throw down on a nice warm parka as well, down parka. Very warm hats and gloves. If you're going to be, operating a camera, you could consider kind of those gloves where you can kind of unfold the mitten part, so you can kind of keep your glove on and still operate your camera. Those are invaluable for sure. Good winter boots as well would be a good idea. So Sorels are a good waterproof insulated boot that you could consider. The beauty is when it's really cold, it's typically sunny and there's not an ounce of wind. So, I've been out in the parks and it's been, 10 below zero, and I'm in like 2 thin layers because that sun is just really baking you. When it is storming, it typically warms up into the 20s when it snows. So, there's not bad weather, there's bad clothing. So undoubtedly, everyone can be prepared for this experience and be warm and comfortable, but it is very important to be prepared, because we certainly want everyone to be comfortable when you're out in the field. And the beauty is, we have vehicles too. So, vehicles will oftentimes be nearby that, okay, we can jump in a vehicle and blast the heat and warm up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? Anybody else have questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kelly.
So, Taylor, I visited Yellowstone, throughout all of the different seasons.
Oh, cool.
And I've also done some teaching out there like Diane. But in my past experience, the roads closed in Yellowstone October 31st. That's the latest I've ever been able to go out there. Do you guys have to get special permits to go out, or is it different now? It's been a couple years since I've been.
Yeah, no, great question. I'm going to share my screen again just to grab that map. Let's see here. Can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So in the wintertime, yes, things are different in Yellowstone. So all the black roads that you see here, all the black lines are roads. And these are open in the summertime from about mid-May through the first week in November. And then everything south of Mammoth and Tower Roosevelt, everything here, everything, down in the majority of the park closes completely for about a month and a half. And
Mm-hmm.
then mid-December, everything south of Mammoth, Tower, Roosevelt opens to snow coach travel and snowmobile travel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the road from the northeast entrance the north entrance to the northeast entrance, this road here stays open all year long. And it's plowed for your typical automobile. Just outside of the northeast entrance of the park, there's two little small communities. The community of Cook City, Montana and Silvergate, Montana, where there are just, it's a small little community and there's residents and they work and they travel this road to access, the rest of the world because they are very isolated out here.
What a cool experience. I mean, props to you for be able to offer an experience for people to be able to go here in the winter, because that is not an experience that many people get. So how very cool.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's special. As I think I opened the chat with, it's a unique and very, very special experience. Over 98% of Yellowstone's visitors come during May, June, July, August, and September.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome to experience the park, during the very quiet months of January and February.
Okay.
And then just on that note about weather and roads and vehicles, like obviously it can snow in Yellowstone in the wintertime, the roads that we're going to be driving on. So all of our vans, they are 4-wheel drive vehicles, and they all have studded snow tires as well. Just, kind of keeping everyone's safety in mind. It looks like Veronica has a question. Any opportunity to do snowmobiling? Great question, Veronica. And, a lot of folks that visit our part of the country during the winter months do have that question, and they are looking for that adventure and activity. And, there are opportunities to do that. And, I'd be happy to, provide some names and contacts for other operators that offer that service. In and around Yellowstone. It's not part of this itinerary, but it's something that you could certainly do, pre or post this trip.
Great questions, everybody. Anybody else have any more questions? All right. Well, then, Taylor, can I just kind of wrap things up a little bit then?
Yeah, that's great. Yep.
Because I think you've answered all of my questions and given us a lot of great information. So just real quick then. All right, so if you want to sign up on the trip, which I would really like that, of course. I know, I'm actually surprised nobody has asked any questions about COVID protocols. And, we are kind of working with a moving target on this. I guess can everybody see this? I'll go.
Yep, I can.
Okay, there we go. So with what we're looking at for the January and February trips is kind of this general guideline, which could change. Right now we're saying ideally everyone gets tested before travel, and we're not requiring at this time to have a negative COVID test. However, we may require it at a later date. We just would like to see how things are progressing over the next few months. So if you sign up by October 15th, which is the deposit deadline, you're signing up knowing that you're going to be flexible. If if it's a decision between Taylor and I that we would like people to get a COVID test for their safety and for the safety of others around them. We're going to ask people to monitor their health before the trip. You'll need to notify us if you've been exposed to someone with COVID within 30 days of the trip. When you arrive, we'll do a temperature check. We are going to ask that people are going to be wearing face masks indoors and in the vehicles. You're going to maintain social distancing when possible. The rooms are double occupancy, so if you don't have a roommate on the female trip, the women's trip, we will just pair you with the roommate. With the co-ed trip, we need, well, if we don't have a roommate for you of the same sex, then we'll need to do a single upgrade. We'll just, we'll talk with you individually on that. But if you are on any of the trips and you definitely would like a single room, we can give you the rates on that to upgrade. And then also, I do suggest you buy travel insurance. Now, with travel insurance, the pandemic was not covered. Cancellations due to the pandemic, such as airlines or border closures, those things weren't covered by travel insurance. But if you get sick, it's being treated just like any other illness. So COVID's being treated like any other illness. So if you get sick with COVID and you can't go on your trip is covered with travel insurance. So it's like if your airfare and the cost of your trip. If you get sick when you're on the trip, your medical is taken care of. Then it's considered trip interruption, and the remainder of your travel is taken care of too, in terms of any financial investments and prepayments that you made. So don't think that just not getting travel insurance because it won't cover anything. It still is a worthwhile investment. And you're going to Yellowstone, and it's after travel, it's to be close to $3,800. So you would want to protect that. And here are the dates. Oops. The dates for the trips. The women's trip is in January, and these itineraries are exactly the same. It's just that we have people like Dory Lynn who's like, I would really like to bring my husband. So, all right, what we do? We have a co-ed trip, and we have people like Diana who's on here too, who wants to bring her partner. So, yes, we have a co-ed trip 22nd to 27th of 2021. And the women's trip, January 25th through 30th of 2021. The cost is $3,465 per person with the deposit due of $1,015. Now, if you are on the fence and you just need a little bit more time, it'd be better if you just kind of give me a heads up that you're interested, but you haven't gotten the okay, fill in the blank for whatever reason to put a deposit down. It just allows me or Taylor and I to just kind of gauge interest on who's interested in going on the trip, and we can work with individuals on how long we can wait. But we do need a minimum of 9 people per trip to make them confirm. To get more information about it, you can just go to my website, go to the Wyoming section, and then you scroll down and there's 2 trips listed there. And you could read the detailed itinerary that Taylor went through. There's the link to the Facebook interest group if you're not already in that, so that you can get updates on the trip, or just communicate, ask questions there, and then eventually once the trip is formed, we create individual Facebook groups, and then we ask for trip-specific information to that itinerary. All right. Well, that's all for tonight. Thanks a lot for coming. This is the first time I've done one of these through Green Adventures. I'm thinking about calling it Pants Optional. Our Pants Optional series tonight is on winter wolves and wildlife. Oh, cool. All right, well, if there's no other questions, we'll just kind of wrap it up from here. I'll stay on until everybody's out in case there's any last minute questions or just people want to chat with Taylor. You can do so. But thanks a lot for showing up tonight. It means a lot. It's great to see your faces. And I hope to meet some of those people. I can't see their faces and you're new, but one day we're going to be friends. I just know it.